Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Lord. The Atlanta Braves, as we speak at the time of this recording, are going off on Dylan Cease, but it was not like this over the weekend where the offense was absolutely pathetic. And it's like, stop me if you've heard me before. I mean, 2 runs in 2 games. And this is getting to the point where it's been such a long stretch of bad offense that we're talking about. This is the worst stretch of 25 games since 2016. 2016, Nick Markakis was batting cleanup and we won 68 games. I mean, that's how bad the Braves offense has been over the last month. And the Phillies, on the flip side, just don't seem like they want to lose a game. And you can point to their schedule and whatever, but you cannot argue with 34-14 and a 5-game lead now in the NL East. And they're in danger if this Braves offense, which they are doing right now against the Padres, doesn't break out of this funk and start winning some games, of running away and hiding with this division, because this isn't the New York Mets of 2022. You go fall 10 games behind in the Philadelphia Phillies. Good luck trying to catch up. And you don't have as many games now with the adjusted schedule to catch up in those head-to-head matchups. You only have 14 games instead of 18. So, we're getting to the point of the season. I know it's still May. No one's panicking about the overall making the postseason. But if you want to win 7 straight division titles, it's time to wake up, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. At a certain point, it's no longer a small sample size or, a rut for some of the guys. Everybody sees the back of Ronald Acuna, Matt Olson, and Austin Riley's baseball cards. Like everybody, even, we're a little bit puzzled with Ronald Acuna. Nobody should be, saying the sky is falling with those guys in particular, those 3 guys. Now, the rest of the Braves lineup, particularly the bottom of the order, has been worse than pedestrian. It's been, borderline unwatchable at times. And it's not just like they're getting unlucky. It feels like they're just uncompetitive at bats. And that's the worst part, where it felt like the Braves last year were each guy. It doesn't matter if you were 1 or 9, they made pitchers work. And that's why it feels a little bit like they're not doing that this year. And I know there's more that goes into it than just that. But, from a surface level standpoint, that's what it kind of feels like. But I think, the ebbs and flows of an MLB season, there's always going to be these sputtering of wheels. And the Braves are very familiar with it. Like the past 3 seasons, there's been a point in time where somebody, Mark Bowman, somebody who's on the beat, does a story about Brian Snicker or somebody going in and kind of giving hey guys, wake up kind of speech. And then they all of a sudden flip that switch. So, I'm not going to sky is falling, doom and gloom. Roscoe might be saying the sky is falling, but I think it's still way too early for a lot of Braves fans who were pessimistic to begin the year. And they're like, see, I was right. I still think they're idiots. But at a certain point, it's like, we're getting, June is right around the corner. It's time to start waking up.
Yeah, I mean, Orlando Arcia has regressed significantly. Michael Harris has really struggled after kind of a hot start. We all thought this was going to be Michael Harris's breakout year. He's chasing way too many pitches. It's no longer something that I can just look at and say, oh, no, that's not a problem. Listen, you got to start swinging at strikes. I mean, his chase rate, I think, is last in the league. I mean, it's been terrible. Michael Harris, you got to start swinging at strikes or you're going to end up not hitting well at the majors. It doesn't matter how talented you are. Jared Kelenic and the Adam Duvall platoon hasn't worked out quite like we would have hoped, especially since that kind of a hot start early in the season for Kelenic. Hopefully we get Sean Murphy back. Austin Riley being out obviously hurts it. The Braves haven't had the best injury luck. Guys have missed games left and right at the top of the lineup. But, it's like overall, like it just seems a little bit off, and I can't really put my finger on it, but it just seems like a lot of these times they fall behind 2 or 3 runs and they don't have a chance. And that's not the way it should be.
You know, what's crazy is that sentiment isn't a singularity. I think a lot of Braves feel that way. Even the ones who are most optimistic feel like something is just off this year. And what's crazy is they're still at the same exact point in terms of record-wise, wins, losses, as they were last year when we won 100-plus games. That's just the standard that has been set. And the Braves offense has been one of the worst, arguably the worst over a certain span. But it just goes to show that this is still a team game, and the Braves rotation and bullpen has been lights out, keeping this team afloat. Obviously, I expect the Braves offense to kind of kick it in gear. You don't go from one of the greatest offenses of all time to one of, a league average at best, with one or two minor tweaks to the lineup. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah, especially when the tweak is losing Eddie Rosario and replacing him with Jared Kelenic and Adam Duvall, who I think over 162 games are more than competent than replacing Rosario and Pilar. Listen, I like once this team starts hitting, they're going to string together wins in bunches because their pitching is much improved. We're watching Ronaldo Lopez. He looks better and better by every single start. I mean, like the fastball velocity, we were talking about it, how he took 4 or 5 miles per hour off. It's back up to 96, 97. And occasionally you see him throwing it up there 98, 99 in big situations. Yeah. And it looks like he's getting stronger as the year goes. We've talked about Chris Sale. So yes, the entire rotation in this bullpen, Ray Kerr, he might be a starter. They talked about that after the game yesterday because he's been outstanding, and Bryce Elder obviously hasn't been. If Ray Kerr is a plus arm, like I'm intrigued by that possibility. I don't know if it'll work, but I'm intrigued by the possibility. And obviously, we've talked about the arms in the minors that are very close to helping this team in the majors once they start to prove that they can be more consistent. I'm talking to you, AJ Smith-Shawver.
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing that everybody is so pessimistic and down on the Braves, it is because of the Phillies. If the Braves were leading the division, I think the whole, skies falling mantra you see on social media would be less of a thing. I do think that because, like I said, the Braves are in the exact same position this year as they were last year in terms of a win-loss record. Now, it just so happens the Phillies are playing some of the best baseball like you'll ever see from a team. And so that's why I think a lot of teams, and Chase's point is correct. You can't go down 10 games to this Phillies team like you could the Mets and expect to catch them, because this Phillies team, unlike that Mets team, is for real. They can win a World Series, and they won't let the Braves, or they won't kind of beat themselves like the Mets sort of did. So I think, the whole, like I keep saying, the sky's falling. It's crap. But also the Phillies are for real. And if you want to win your 7th division title, it is time to wake up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's two things that I think that people are feeling the way that they're feeling. Half of it is the fact that the offense just feels it almost
boring to watch.
It almost feels like Acuna is out there going through the motions. Matt Olson obviously went through a lengthy slump. It looks like he's coming out of it. You don't have Austin Riley right now. It hasn't been a fun product to watch.
No.
Like I haven't been sitting here like excited to turn the Braves on like I usually am. And I understand why people aren't, because it's been like a pitcher's duel every other time, or we're getting blown out. If our starter isn't going 6-7 innings, a 1-run ball, we're getting blown out of the building. Like it has not been fun to watch. But the other half of it is the fact that you have a team that's 34-14, has the best record in the majors, has won like 27 of their last 32 games. It's been an incredible run, and it kind of feels like you're slowly drowning here in this NL East race, and it's only May. But I'm with you. I'm with most Braves fans. I think most Braves fans understand that it's going to turn around. The last people that I'm worried about, and I will continue to say this, I don't care how long this slump works, is Austin Riley, Matt Olson, and Ronald Acuna. There's just too much of track records of success there. I still believe guys like Orlando Arcia and Michael Harris are going to pick it up. I think Sean Murphy coming back is going to be a huge thing. I really believe in this pitching staff.
Yep.
And frankly, we've won 104 games and 101 games last 2 seasons and gotten bounced. Like we talked all offseason about the postseason format not benefiting winning the division. So hypothetically, if we don't win, maybe we prove a little more truth to that and go in there with our heads on fire. And besides this, I'd rather be doing this now. I said over the weekend, we're in October form. We're in October form in May because this is how we've hit the last 2 postseasons. I'd rather be doing this now and laying these stinkers now and get hot at the end of the season, because frankly, that is what it's all about. And while I do put a lot of emphasis and I want to win 7 straight, I think that's a fun thing to say. I want to go for 14 straight like we did back in the 90s. A division title to me at this point doesn't mean anything compared to a World Series. Like I want to get it done in October. We've won 6 in a row of these things, that we're still the dominant team in the division. I want to win in October. So if we have to lay down the division 1 year to get it done in October, I'm all here for it.
I think most Braves fans would absolutely trade 100 division titles for even a couple.
I would do it for an appearance at this point. Like I'm just tired of getting bounced in the first
and it's
round.
fair. And maybe there is that sort of pressure, so to speak. I know 2022, you could argue there was pressure up until one of the last couple series, and we still, same result to the Phillies. But I think, you could argue this could be a good thing because this is a changeup. This is the Braves. Hey, you're not as good as you thought. That Phillies team is better than you right now. What are you going to do about it? That kind of, punch you in the mouth. How are you going to answer type of thing? And, that it's happening early is good for the Braves, so to speak, in this scenario, because they'll have several months to kind of respond.
Well, yeah, I think there's two things that a lot of people don't talk about when you talk about October success. And I think playing up until October, like your feet are to the fire and playing for those spots, something that the Braves did
back
do
against
in
the wall type stuff
against the Mets. But in 2023, I mean, they coasted 18, what they win the division by 18 games. And I'm not just the Braves aren't just an example of this last year. Look at the Dodgers. No. They typically coast 15, 20 games ahead. And guess what? Their postseason success has been non-existent. They get to the playoffs and they go get swept in the first round. They're like the Dodgers and the Braves have had all this regular season success. They blow out their division and then they're just like, oh, well, now we got to play real games again. And they're almost like caught off guard.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, a team like the Phillies has been battling for their postseason life. I mean, think about 2021. We were battling the last 3 months of the season. Every game felt like a playoff game. We didn't even know if we were going to make the playoffs. We end up winning the division by 5 games and just go on this tear in the World Series. But I think that the way you have to play later in the season with it's almost like postseason baseball, getting acclimated to that is very, very important. I think that could be the case this year. And I agree. I think, having this happen early is only going to benefit the team later, but maybe I'm just thinking optimistically.